Today I am going to teach you about the hypertensive vascular disease. So hypertensive vascular disease, so it is a systemic and local tissue blood pressure must be maintained within narrow range to prevent untoward consequences. Low pressure, that is also known as hypotension, result in inadequate organ perfusion and can lead to dysfunction of tissue depth. High pressure, that is known as hypertension, can cause vessels and end organ damage. So the hypertensive vascular disease, there may be the hypotension or either the hypertension. Now the definition of hypertension. So hypertension is defined as it is sustained elevation of blood pressure. Systolic blood pressure is more than or equal to 140 mmHg and diastolic blood pressure is more than or equal to 90 mmHg. For persons over age 50 years, the systolic blood pressure is more important than the diastolic blood pressure as a cardiovascular disease risk factor. Starting at the blood pressure 115 by 75 mmHg, the CVD risk doubles with the each increment of blood pressure of 20 by 10 mmHg throughout the BP range. A sustained diastolic pressure greater than 89 mmHg or a sustained systolic pressure in excess of 139 mmHg are associated with a increased risk of atherosclerosis. Incidence of hypertension in India: 25% of the urban population and 10% of the rural population suffer from hypertension. 70% of all hypertensive patients are stage 1 hypertension and 12% of all hypertensive suffer from isolated systolic hypertension. Now the blood pressure classification. So these are the newly recognized and these require the lifestyle modification. So in the normal hypertension, in normal person, usually the systolic blood pressure is less than 120 mmHg and diastolic blood pressure is less than 80 mmHg. In pre-hypertension, the BP blood pressure is 120 to 139 mmHg and diastolic blood pressure is 80 to 89 mmHg. In stage 1 hypertension, the systolic blood pressure is 140 to 159 mmHg and diastolic blood pressure is 90 to 99 mmHg. In stage 2 hypertension, the systolic blood pressure is more than or equal to 160 mmHg and diastolic blood pressure is more than and equal to 100 mmHg. Now the classification. So classification of hypertension according to etiological factors. One is the primary, and that is also known as the essential hypertension, and other is the secondary hypertension. The primary hypertension, the cause is unknown or the idiopathic. So there is elevated blood pressure with unknown cause. 90 to 95% of all cases are suffer from the primary hypertension. The secondary hypertension, the hypertension that have the elevated blood pressure with a specific cause. 5 to 10% in adults suffer from the secondary hypertension. Now the primary hypertension, the contributing factors in primary hypertension is the increased sympathetic nervous system activity, diabetes mellitus, increased sodium intake, and excessive alcohol intake. Now come to the different types of hypertension like resistant hypertension, isolated hypertension, benign hypertension, and malignant hypertension. So in the resistant hypertension, there is a high blood pressure that is difficult to control and requires multiple medications including diuretics. Isolated systolic hypertension, the systolic blood pressure is above the 140 mmHg and diastolic blood pressure is under the 90 mmHg. It is the most frequent type of hypertension in older adults. Now the benign hypertension, a hypertension is never benign, a condition of mild to moderate high blood pressure that has no identifiable cause. In malignant hypertension, the high blood pressure that causes damage to your organs. This is an emergency condition. The malignant hypertension is the most severe type and it is characterized by elevated blood pressure, usually at more than 180 mmHg at systolic and more than 120 to 130 mmHg of diastolic blood pressure plus damage to multiple organs. So that is known as malignant hypertension. Now the risk factors for primary hypertension. The risk factors for the primary hypertension are advancing age in men over 55 years of age and women more than 65 years of age. Sex, men and post-menopausal women are usually suffering from the primary hypertension. Smoking, high intake of cholesterol diet, low fruit consumption, coexisting disorders such as diabetes and hyperlipidemia and high intake of alcohol. So these are the major risk factors that may lead to the development of primary hypertension in the patient that have the men for 55 years of age and women more than 65 years of the age. Other risk factors are the family history of cardiovascular disease, obesity or weight gain that have the person have the body mass index is more than 30, ethnicity, Africans or Americans, sedentary lifestyle, socio-economic status and psychosocial stress. So these are the different types of risk factors that may lead to the primary hypertension. Now come to the secondary hypertension. The contributing factor for the secondary hypertension are coarctation of aorta, renal disease, endocrine disorders, neurological disorders, and usually treated by the to treat the underlying cause to control the secondary hypertension. Now the etiology of secondary hypertension that involve 5 to 10% of the cases. So renal causes that involve in 80% of the cases like the acute glomerulonephritis, chronic glomerulonephritis, and other is the chronic pyelonephritis, polycystic kidney disease, renal artery stenosis. In endocrinal disorders like adrenal gland involvement like primary aldosteronism, Cushing syndrome, and pheochromocytoma, acromegaly, exogenous hormones like oral contraceptive and glucocorticoid, hypothyroidism, and hyperparathyroidism. So these are the different conditions of the endocrinology that may lead to the development of secondary hypertension. Other is the neurological like psychogenic involvement, increased intracranial pressure, sleep apnea syndrome, and acute stress, including the surgery. Others like coarctation of aorta, polyarthritis nodosa, increased intravascular volume, increased cardiac output, rigidity of aorta, and pregnancy-induced hypertension that is also known as preeclampsia. So these are all about the etiological factors that may lead to the systemic hypertension or the secondary hypertension usually involve the 5 to 10% of the cases. Now come to the pathogenesis of the secondary hypertension. In secondary form of hypertension, the underlying pathway are reasonably well understood. In renovascular hypertension, renal artery stenosis causes decreased glomerular flow and pressure in the afferent arterioles of the glomerulus that induces the renin secretion. These renin initiating or stimulate the angiotensin second that may mediate vasoconstriction and increase peripheral resistance, increase sodium reabsorption and blood volume through the aldosterone mechanism. So the blood pressure is a function of cardiac output and peripheral vascular resistance. So this is the how the normal blood pressure is maintained in our body. So regulation of normal blood pressure. So there is a two hemodynamic variables that are influenced by the multiple genetic, environmental and demographic factors. The major factors that determine the blood pressure variation within and between population including the age, gender, body mass index and diet, particularly the sodium intake. So these are the different factors that may regulate the normal blood pressure in our body. So regulation of blood pressure. So the blood volumes, sodium, mineralocorticoids and arterial natriuretic peptide, some humoral factors, subhumoral factors like constrictors and dilators. Constrictors means angiotensin second, catecholamine, thromboexone, leukotrienes and endothelin. Dilators like prostaglandin, kinin and nitrous oxide. So the blood pressure that is maintained by the cardiac output and peripheral resistance, and local factors like autoregulation, ionic like pH and hypoxia. So cardiac factors, heart rate and contractility. So all these factors are interrelated and all are involved in the maintaining the normal blood pressure in our body. So these are the pathways that show the critical roles played by the cardiac output and peripheral resistance in modulating the normal blood pressure. So one is there is a decreased blood pressure and other is the increased blood pressure. So decreased blood pressure, so due to the decreased peripheral resistance, that is the dilation of the arterioles and decreased cardiac output. So decreased peripheral resistance, so due to the decrease in nitric oxide, increased prostacyclin and increased kinin, increased arterial natriuretic peptides, and there is a decrease neural toxins factors like beta adrenergic, and decreased cardiac output like bradykinin, like increased ANP, decreased heart rate and decreased contractility of the heart. So there is a decreased blood pressure, and sometimes there is a increase in cardiac output. So there is increased heart rate, increased contraction of the heart, increased blood volume, increased peripheral resistance like due to the angiotensin second stimulation, catecholamine, thromboexone, endothelin and neural factors. So there is a that may lead to the increased blood pressure. So these are the sequence. So these are the mechanism that may regulate the blood pressure in our body. So this pathway that may interplay of the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone and arterial natriuretic peptide in maintaining the blood pressure homeostasis. So in the center there is a heart, so there is a volume overload. This volume overload may stimulate the arterial natriuretic peptide, so that stimulate the kidney, that may excretes sodium and water, and other is that there is a vasodilation, so there is a decreased blood pressure. Other is the, so there is a low volume or low resistance, can also be the renal artery stenosis. So there is in the stimulate the kidney to release the renin, and this renin convert the angiotensinogen to angiotensin first, and this angiotensin first converted to the angiotensin second by the use of the angiotensin converting enzyme, and these angiotensin second, these are the vasoconstrictor, and that may lead to the increased reabsorption of sodium and water, and increase in blood volume, and there is a increased blood pressure, and they also may lead to the vasoconstriction. So there is a increased volume due to the excess dietary sodium intake, inadequate excretion like renal failures, hyperaldosteronism, and increased sodium reabsorption, and increased resistance due to the increased sympathetic tone, and increased renin, angiotensin, aldosterone axis. So these are the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. So how it play in the regulation of the blood pressure. Now come to the pathogenesis of the hypertension. So these are the different factors that may induce the hypertension, like renin-angiotensin system, sympathetic nervous system, insulin resistance, overweight, active vessels wall. So they may lead to the endothelial dysfunction, vasoactive substances, kallikrein secretion, and natriuretic peptides. Come to the renin release. So intrarenal factors, so renal perfusion pressure, catecholamine, and angiotensin second. So decreased renal artery pressure and kidney blood flow are the sensed by the juxtaglomerular cells and stimulate secretion of the renin. This renin catecholamine increases the renin release probably by directly stimulating the sympathetic nerves on the afferent arterioles that in turn activate the JG cells. So these are the diagram that show the how the renin form the angiotensin second, and these angiotensin second, these are the vasoconstriction, and these affect the different organs in the body, and that what happen if there is a increase in blood pressure. Now the extrarenal factors like sodium, chloride, and potassium. So a decrease in sodium and chloride delivered to the distal tubule stimulates renin release. So decreased serum potassium or intracellular calcium is detected by the JG cells, resulting in renin secretion. Angiotensin second can elevate the blood pressure through the pressure and volume effects. So pressure effects that may lead to the direct vasoconstriction, stimulation of the catecholamine release from the adrenal medulla, and centrally mediated increase in the sympathetic nervous system activity. Now the angiotensin second stimulate aldosterone synthesis from the adrenal cortex. This lead to the sodium and water reabsorption that increases the plasma volume, total peripheral resistance, and ultimately blood pressure. Clearly, any disturbances in the body that leads to the activation of the renin-angiotensin activating system could explain the chronic hypertension. Angiotensin second in the heart generated by a second enzyme. So angiotensin first convertage enzyme. This enzyme is not blocked by the AC inhibition. So activation of the myocardial RAS increases the cardiac contractility and stimulates cardiac hypertrophy. Angiotensin second in the brain that modulates the production and release of the hypothalamic and pituitary hormones and enhances the sympathetic outflow from the medulla oblongata. Now the effects of natriuretic hormone. So ANP promotes the natriuresis, that is the loss of sodium. The arterial myocyte synthesis, store and release the ANP in response to the stage like low plasma volume sensor. Major effect is the renal vasodilation, increased blood flow, and there is an increased glomerular filtration rate. Thus, the more sodium reaches the macula densa, more sodium excreted may inhibit the action of renin and generally opposes the effect of angiotensin II, and there is a decrease in blood pressure. So these natriuretic hormone inhibits the sodium and potassium ATPase and thus interfere with the sodium transport across the cell membrane. So inherited defect in the kidney ability to eliminate the sodium can cause an increased blood volume. A compensatory increase in the concentration of circulating natriuretic hormone theoretically could be increased urinary excretion of the sodium and water. However, the same hormone is also thought to be block the active transport of the sodium out of the arterial smooth muscle cells. The increased intracellular concentration of the sodium ultimately will increase the vascular tone and blood pressure. So these are the effects of the anti-natriuretic hormones. Now come to the insulin resistant and hyperinsulinemia, that is also known as metabolic syndrome. So increased insulin concentration may lead to the hypertension because of increased renal sodium retention and enhanced sympathetic nervous system activity. Moreover, the insulin has growth hormone like action that can induce hypertrophy of the vascular smooth muscles. Insulin also may elevate blood pressure by increasing the intracellular calcium, which lead to the increased vascular resistance and finally may lead to the increased blood pressure. Now the neuronal regulation. The central and autonomic nervous system are the involved in the regulation of arterial blood pressure. The pathologic disturbance in any of the four major components could lead to the elevated blood pressure. These four components may be the autonomic nerve fibers, adrenergic receptors, baroreceptors, and central nervous system. So pathological disturbance in any of the four major components may lead to the chronic elevation of the blood pressure. So these are the flow charts. So there is a genetic and environmental factors that like dysfunction of the sympathetic nervous system, RAS, adenosine, and natriuretic hormones that may lead to the inflammation or insulin resistance. So insulin resistance may lead to the vasoconstriction, increased peripheral resistance like sympathetic vascular resistance, and sustained hypertension. So in inflammation, there is a renal salt and water retention, increased blood volume, and there is a increase in blood pressure. These are the endothelial dysfunction that may lead to the atherosclerosis and vasoconstriction, and finally there is an infection. So these are already told in the classes of the atherosclerosis. So how the endothelial dysfunction can lead to the hypertension or atherosclerosis development. Now come to the morphology. So hypertension is associated with two forms of small blood vessels disease. One is the hyaline arteriosclerosis and other is the hyperplastic arteriosclerosis. In hyaline arteriosclerosis, the arterioles show the homogeneous pink hyaline thickening with associated luminal narrowing. So the vessels of the elderly person, either normal or hypertensive patients, show the hyaline arteriosclerosis. The same lesions are also a common features of diabetic microangiography. In that case, the underlying etiology is hyperglycemia-induced endothelial cell dysfunction. In nephrosclerosis, due to the chronic hypertension, the arterial narrowing of the hyaline arteriosclerosis cause diffuse impairment of renal blood supply and cause glomerular scarring. So these are the histopathological picture of hyaline arteriosclerosis. So in the diagram, show the arterial wall is thickened with increased protein deposition. So these are the pink in color. So these are the hyalinized blood vessels, and the lumen is markedly narrow. So now come to the hyperplastic arteriosclerosis. So this lesion occur in severe or malignant hypertension. Vessels exhibit onion skin-like lesions characterized by concentric laminated thickening of the walls and luminal narrowing. The lamination consists of smooth muscle cells with thickened and reduplicated basement membranes. In malignant hypertension, they are accompanied by fibrinoid deposits and vessels wall necrosis, that is also known as necrotizing arteriolitis, particularly in the kidney. So these are the histopathological picture that show the hyperplastic arteriosclerosis or onion skin appearance that may lead to the luminal obliteration. Now the complication of the hypertension. So complications are primarily related to the development of atherosclerosis. So there is a hardening of the arteries or fatty deposit that hardens with the age. So the common complications are target organ disease occurring in the heart, brain, kidney and eyes. So in the heart, there is a hypertensive heart disease that may lead to the coronary artery disease, left ventricular hypertrophy and heart failure. So here you see the diagram: ventricular hypertrophy, dysfunction and failure, arrhythmia, coronary artery disease, acute myocardial infarction, arterial aneurysm, dissection and rupture. So these are the effects of hypertension on cardiovascular system. So these are the diagram that show the left ventricular hypertrophy. So these are the gross picture. So in the CNS, so there is a cerebrovascular disease that may lead to a stroke, peripheral vascular disease, nephrosclerosis and retinal damage. Now effect on kidney, the glomerular sclerosis leading to the impaired kidney function, and finally there is a end-stage kidney disease. So there is a ischemic kidney disease, especially when the renal arteriosclerosis is the cause of hypertension. Effect on nervous system, so stroke, intracerebral or subarachnoid noise hemorrhage, and cerebral atrophy and dementia. Effect on eye, there is a retinopathy, retinal hemorrhage, and impaired vision, vitreous hemorrhage, retinal detachment, neuropathy of the nerves leading to the extraocular muscles paralysis and dysfunction. So these are the different complications of the hypertension that may lead to the different types of effect in the different organs. Now the diagnosis. So frequently the clinical manifestation of hypertension, so usually asymptomatic until severe and target organ disease has occurred. So these are the silent, also known as silent killer of the persons. So the clinical manifestation may be the fatigue, reduced activity tolerance, dizziness, palpitation, angina, dyspnea, morning occipital headache. In severe hypertension, there is a epistaxis or blurring of the visions may occur. Routine test for the laboratory, so there is a ECG, urine examination, blood glucose, serum potassium, creatinine, corresponding estimated GFR, lipid profile after 9 to 12 hours of the fast that include high density and low density lipoprotein, cholesterol and triglyceride. Optional test may be the measurement of urinary albumin excretion and albumin and creatinine ratio, that is also known as ACR. More extensive testing for identifiable causes is not generally indicated unless BP control is not achieved. So these are the different types of the laboratory test that may lead to the complication or diagnose the different types of complication. Now, how to prevent the hypertension? So, you reduce the weight, aerobic exercise, you reduce sugar intake, reducing sodium or salt or fat intake, fruits and vegetables, stop smoking, and reducing stress. So, relaxation therapy or the meditation. So, these are the different preventive techniques to reduce the blood pressure. So thank you. So this is all about the hypertensive vascular disease.